What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here? We're repping America. The center. Common sense. Keep love in your heart. Man, it's going to be good to say goodbye to 2024. Gotta say, man. This has been a very up and down year. I think it ended on a high note, so I'm optimistic about 2025. So you know what? 2025, this one's for you. All right. Bronco kicking it off here. The Grinch who ruined the left's plan to destroy America. That's a good one by Bronco. Look at that. He's got everything in there, even the little sippy cup down there. Yeah. I mean, we were really headed into some dark times, honestly. I believe that if we had 4 more years of what was going on in the last 4 years. You know, open borders, I think that is a huge problem. I think it's, as we're going to see in some cases, made situations a lot worse. You know, and I don't trust China one bit. I don't trust the globalists one bit. You know, I guess I'm a nationalist. I know that sounds like a dirty word because that's what happened in Germany. But, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. The left constantly says that they're not communists, they're not Marxists, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, why can't we just say the same thing about being a nationalist? You know, putting pride in America and putting your faith in America and wanting to look out for America first, I don't see how that's a bad thing. I don't see how Make America Great Again is a bad thing. And I refuse to see it that way. You know, we have some problems in this country. We do. We have homelessness. We have crime. We have rampant drug overdoses. You know, I was reading an article, I think it was in Monmouth County, Mulmouth, something like that, where more people on the streets had died of fentanyl overdoses than were housed. And that's a problem. And while we're focusing in on these DEI agendas and this far left crap, we took our eyes off what was important. And hopefully our eyes are about to be put back on what's important. And maybe we could get some stuff done for the good of everyone. You know? I mean, that's what it really comes down to. So, yeah. Here's the wonderful thing. It seems like as Biden's going out the door, they're basically just pulling back the curtain and letting everybody know that they've been gaslit. And that's what's kind of the subject of today, the gaslighting that went on. Biden administration partially blames immigration surge for massive spike in homelessness. They released a new report Friday showing that homelessness in America increased by 18%, partially attributing the spike to the huge influx of immigrants settling in this country. You let in, like, what are we at? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 million people without any vetting process, without any real checks to see if they were going to be able to support themselves. And like I've been saying for, years now, you know, when the money runs out, what are all these illegal migrants going to do? What are they going to do? We've already seen that a large portion of them have turned to crime. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a 1%, 2%, 3% of them. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's still a large number. You know, there was one number that was bandied about that something like 800,000 people who have been facing charges in their home country have fled to America. You know, that is a frightening statistic when you think about people fleeing to America to avoid incarceration. But yeah, we have some numbers here and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, they explicitly blame the immigration crisis as one of the reasons for the rise in homelessness. It's like, what the hell were they thinking? Did they have a plan? They obviously never had a plan because look at this. You know, 770,000 people were homeless across the U.S. on a single night in January 2024, up 18.1% from the same point a year prior. It's just ridiculous. You know, we were talking about those numbers, right? Since fiscal year 2021, law enforcement has recorded more than 10 million migrant encounters, with millions of migrants suspected of entering the country without being apprehended or detected by law enforcement. So if you know of 10 million and you have millions that you think snuck by, what are we looking at? 14, 15, even 16 million people just randomly showed up here? And how are they going to fit in? We already have these issues of not enough houses, not enough money, not enough jobs. Sure, there's some places where there's lots of jobs, whatever. But here in California, Gavin Newsom's doing his part to destroy jobs. So when the people move here, what are they going to do? Public assistance? We did not need to import criminals and poor people. I'm not saying that immigrating to the United States should be an elitist thing, but, how about some middle class? How about some rich people? That does not strain our system. We have upwards of 14, 15 million people who have come into this country now from all over the world. They're crowding up schools. They're crowding up shelters. This is not a plan. And then we were gaslit into believing that it was all okay and, it's good for the economy. Give me a break. Migration has particularly notable impact on family homelessness, which rose 39%, almost 40% from 2023 to 2024. In the 13 communities that reported being affected by migration, family homelessness more than doubled. And they're saying, whereas in the remaining 373 communities, the rise in families experiencing homelessness was less than 8%. Okay, so you're going to play around with numbers here. All right? But in some areas, family homelessness rose almost 40%. And in places where it wasn't as bad, it still rose 8%. This wasn't a plan. Biden never had a plan. 4 years ago, I warned people, before you vote against Trump, think about who you're voting for. And this is what we got. We got a puppet. We have a media that's going to gaslight us. And now we have a mess that's going to take years, if not decades, to clean up. So 2024 and before really saw a lot of focus being put on trans athletes. And people such as myself said that we were defending women. The left said that we were being transphobic. Okay? I'm defending women. And one of the reasons why is because almost on a daily, you could see how society devalues the female of the species. It's just so stupid. We pass laws to try to help people, and then people just exploit those laws. Family-owned restaurant forced to close after frivolous gender discrimination ladies' night suit. They're closing. They're up in the Bay Area. They're closing out because some lawyers decided that ladies' night, in which they gave ladies half off food and drink, was discriminating against men. It's not discriminating against men. It's a promotion. Men should be excited about ladies' night because that's a night where you could go and the girls are getting half-price drinks. You might not have to buy as many, but that's just dating. Let's just leave that alone. But this is the attack on women that you see, where if you do something like this ladies' night, and we've seen this Mother's Day events at baseball stadiums, things like that getting closed down by this lawyers just trying to make money, but at the same time ruining our society. We can't have any fun anymore. Everybody has to take everything so damn seriously. That's the one thing that I hope changes. I hope we can get away from all of this overly sensitive bullshit. And I also hope that we can get over all of this frivolous lawsuit shit. If there is no merit to a case, don't allow it to go forward. Because when you put it in front of jurors, they often get things wrong. Look, I'm just going to, and playing along with that, or continuing on with the attacks on women, judge tells court to respect pronouns of transgender rapist. This guy, because that does not look like a girl to me, I'm sorry. This person was claimed to be transsexual, was put in the women's side of the prison, raped 3 women, and impregnated one of them. And we're supposed to respect that dude's pronouns? What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? What, are we supposed to just play along with every lie that comes down the pipe? Is that what it is? These people could just lie about, I'm a woman, and they put them in the women's side of the prison? Is that how little we think of women? And then after this person has raped several women, we still are supposed to treat him as a woman? I'm baffled by that. Another baffling one. Well, not really baffling, because Gavin Newsom, he's a fucking tyrant, straight up. He is a tyrant. If you don't think he's a tyrant, look at his record. Look at some of his big things. He put a moratorium on the death penalty, despite the fact Californians voted twice to keep it. He's trying to gaslight us. We're going to get into more of that, but this one's on 36. This was the one, it's out there somewhere where these two girls were shoplifting at an Ulta. And when they actually got arrested, put in the back of a police car. And one of them was like, bitch, it's new law. Stealing is a felony. And the look on their face was a look that we haven't seen in a long time on criminals' face. A look of they know they fucked up. They're going to pay a price now. But Gavin tries to say that it's really his statewide anti-crime initiative with the CHP. That somehow the California Highway Patrol was put in charge of retail theft. So they have the California Highway Patrol Anti-Organized Retail Theft Task Force. Wow. You know what, Gavin? Arresting people or task force and things like that, that's not what cuts down on this shit, okay? What cuts down on this shit is the punishment. Pure and simple. I applaud him for putting together a task force to go after organized retail theft. It's a huge problem. It leads to higher prices for all of us. It's dangerous. Who knows who's going to get caught up in some of this bullshit. But at the end of the day, Prop 36, okay, is what is re-raising the punishment. And the punishment is the only thing criminals respect. They don't respect the task force. They don't respect people's rights. They don't respect a business owner's, losses. They don't respect any of that shit. They only respect the punishment. That's it. And again, speaking on punishments, murder cop's family reacts to Biden commuting killer's death sentence. He commuted the death sentence of like 37 people, including 9 that have been deemed unable to be around other people because every time they're put with a cellmate, they kill the cellmate. But he kept some. He kept some because Dylan Roof, he carried out a racist slang, right? So, he's got to get the death penalty. You got people who have murdered children, murdered police officers, and you're giving them something. You're rewarding them. You're commuting the death penalty because your agenda says, oh, death penalty's bad. Well, we don't want to make hard choices. Cowards. But again, here is Biden just pulling back the curtain and showing all the gaslighting. They don't care. They would let these people out if they could. All right, that was getting heavy. So let's lighten it up. We'll take a little Babylon B break here. California announces mass deportation of U.S. citizens. Yeah, it's a fair point. Real fair point. It's one of the things that bothers me the most, man. I can't believe that I spent my whole life as a proud Californian, and I feel like I'm being forced to leave. And that's not something that sits well. I don't think anybody on this planet likes to be forced into anything, let alone Americans. Okay, who got me this MAGA hat? Asked Kamala Harris as Jill Biden stifles laughter. Yeah, Jill Biden. Wow, what a creature. I mean, at least she doesn't pretend, I mean, she fucking hates Kamala Harris, and I'm sure she's glad she lost. And on a side note, it is funny that there have been reporters blaming Jill Biden for Joe Biden's loss because she's much more youthful and vital than he is, and she made him look bad. That's good. Uh-oh, all the animals from the live nativity in Springfield, Ohio just went missing. Oh, the absurdity of their eating the cats. Oh man, that's gonna have to be one in the recap of 2024. They're eating cats. Wow. So, I guess the media is no longer pulling punches. Department of Justice is no longer covering up for him, and Joe Biden is being exposed. All the times Biden denied meeting with Hunter's business associates as more photos emerge and expose the president. There he is meeting with one of them right there. A review of Biden's public statements demonstrate a pattern of dishonesty as a mountain of evidence, including photos, emails, and witness statements, showed that he did indeed interact with his family's business partners. These are some of the stuff that he said, tell them to read the record of every single witness, Biden at first replied, even though many witnesses, in fact, had described his interactions with those associates. These guys just got to stop this stuff. The journalist prompted, but you did interact with their partners. Biden, I did not interact with their partners. Another reporter asked him, House Speaker Mike Johnson has accused you of lying repeatedly about your interactions with your son and brother's business partners. What's your response to them? I did not interact with their partners. He directly denied it. And he did it at one point on March 1st, just 2 days after Hunter had privately admitted in his impeachment inquiry deposition that his dad had engaged with his associates from China, Kazakhstan, Russia, and the Ukraine. Why do people say the Ukraine? I think he came from something. And again, he was lying the entire time. He was selling his influence, which, again, is not his job. His job is not to figure out how to make people in China and Ukraine richer. That's just insipid. And a lot of that stuff was becoming clear, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Democrats lost this year, was that people were seeing all of this stuff. And hopefully they learn their lesson, but I know here in California they don't, because here's an article. We got something wrong. California prepares to resist, but differently. The resistance isn't dead. It's just doing deep breathing exercises in California. Yeah, a group of Orange County Democrats invited a therapist to help them process Donald Trump's return to power. She clicked through topics ranging from stages of grief to how to increase distress tolerance and how to self-soothe. Oh, my God. When Biden got elected, I knew we were in for a shit show. I didn't even realize how bad. But I didn't need to go through stages of grief. We just moved on. In the words of Bill Belichick, on to Cincinnati. And if their particular approach to coping with a second Trump administration positively screamed California, it seemed to fit the mood in the state. A fortress of progressive politics that serves as an antithesis to Trump in his first term. This is a safe space, the therapist told the group of about 24 Democrats as she put up her slide. Then, by a show of hands, she asked how many people felt sad, scared, or exhausted. She talked about mindfulness, microdosing, hope, and radical acceptance. Yeah. Look, I get it, okay? I understand why some people are worried about the Trump administration. But what you also have to look at is what would have happened if Kamala had won? Another 4 more years of the last 4 years? Where would we be? Where would it be? So basically the question I'm putting up here is, who should have been scared about the outcome of the election? What group? What's the biggest group that should have been scared? Because as far as I'm concerned, Kamala winning should have scared 100% of Americans. Trump, sure, he should scare some people. His party has shown that they have a lack of tolerance for certain people. They have a lack of tolerance for women making having the right to choose if they keep a baby. But what percentage is that? 50%? 60%? It's not 100%. But, there's a whole bunch of crap going on in this article. But at the end of the day, it was summed up by this guy Davis here. This guy Davis. He's a former governor, Gray Davis. Everyone ought to look in the mirror because they're working for voters who are marching to a different drummer. Yeah. Most of the people here in California are worried about day-to-day existence. Not these highfalutin climate change and environmentalist DEI acceptance over common sense bullshit that the Democrats have been preaching, at least mainly on a national stage. But we see it here in California. Gavin Newsom is putting their agenda over our needs and desires. I don't remember anybody signing off on this electric vehicle switch. I don't remember that. I don't remember anybody signing off on not drilling for oil, importing oil, making everything more expensive, mandating that even our trucks that we use for transporting goods has to be electric. Who signed off on that? No one. That's them. Oh, and then he turns around and he blames the California Air Resource Board, CARB. Oh, it's CARB's decision. No, man. It's your decision, Gavin. Democrats are not doing anything to help people right now. They're trying to help themselves, and they're trying to lock down little groups. Whoever this guy is sums it up really good. Talking about California. I wouldn't be shocked if we return to more of a purple look. Boom. Light flexing. That's what it's all about. Purple. This red and blue shit is just nonsense, and it doesn't work. We've seen it. It doesn't work. Purple's the way to be. So lately, I'm sure everybody's heard the talk of, California, America annexing Canada, Greenland, and Panama. And, I kind of wanted to look into some of that, see what was, what maybe was at play. Greenland and Canada, nothing there. Panama, that's a different story. Panama is violating its canal treaty by cozying up to China, risking U.S. safety. And I'll tell you where it's risking U.S. safety, okay? We need the canal to efficiently move our naval forces, which is the big thing right now. Aircraft carriers, ever since World War II, they're what dictates battles. That's where you launch your planes, your airstrikes, your missiles, your drones. That's how you land troops amphibiouly. Our Navy is super important. Our naval resources are super important. And Panama is the only way across, unless you want to go all the way around. So anyhow, the waterway, originally an American possession, the French started it and gave up. Well, a few years later, we picked up where the French had left off, and we finished the Panama Canal, and it was ours. And we operated it until President Carter in 1977, barely passed, by the way, gave the Panama Canal back to the Panamanians. There were two treaties, okay? The first treaty obliged Panama to operate the canal neutrally with non-discriminatory pricing and allowed the U.S. to defend it from any threat that might interfere with its neutrality. We are now being charged increased fees to use the canal. The second treaty transferred full control to Panama, effective in 1999, without superseding the first treaty's broad provisions, allowing for U.S. defense of this crucial military and economic asset. Now, the problem started to arise, and this is an interesting part here. Despite these agreements, the sad truth is the Panama Canal is already in the wrong hands, China. In 1996, Panama made a 25-year agreement to outsource management of the canal's two entry points to a subsidiary of Hutchins Whampoa, a Hong Kong-based shipping firm. That's fine. It's not really an unfriendly country. It's Hong Kong was pretty much neutral. At the time, however, Hong Kong was still a British colony. And both the Congress and the U.S. Federal Maritime Commission determined that Hutchinson's operations were not a threat to America's interests. Times have changed. In 1997, Hong Kong reverted to Chinese communist rule, and more recently, China has taken complete control. The Chinese Communist Party can exercise direct and possibly unlimited influence over any of Hong Kong's companies anywhere in the world. And that's what threatens the neutrality of the canal. Their operational consent, Hutchinson's operational concession was renewed by Panama in 2021, thus preserves the de facto Chinese control over one of the world's most vital conduits of maritime traffic. By 2022, additional Chinese investment in Panama flooded more than $2.5 billion of Beijing's capital into the canal zone, where more than 40 Chinese companies now operate. They could shut down the canal quite easily. This is what I mean by, as Biden was pursuing his agenda, why was anything done? Why is this coming up now? Well, for one thing, when Trump was in office, a lot of these renewals and investments hadn't happened, 2021, 2022. This is what happened on Biden's watch. Biden allowed control of the Panama Canal to slip closer and closer to China's control. And that's worrisome. We need that canal. That's why one of the things I advocate is bringing our manufacturing back into the Americas. You know, North America, Central America, South America, where things could actually be moved by truck, where ports could be on the east and west coast of some of these countries. And we could ship stuff directly to the East Coast and into into the Gulf of Mexico and to the coast of California. And in times of crisis, we could fly shit much easier than we can from China. And if, God forbid, we ever go to war with China, think about what is going to get cut off. We are going to lose access to a lot of stuff. Now, if it was all made in the Americas, wouldn't happen. We're not going to war with any South American countries or any Central American countries, and we're certainly not going to go to war with Canada. So why are we giving all of this money to China? Because Richard Nixon thought if we give them money, they'll become capitalists. They did become capitalists, but they're still run as a government as communists. They're out there every day with massive cell phone banks, just sending out spam and viruses and phishing attempts, and getting involved in our politics and stirring the pot and doing whatever they can do. Sometimes they sneak into secured systems and then vanish so we can't trace them. But they always leave something behind to let us know that they were there. This is a country that is, for the most part, involved in a Cold War with the United States. And we're sending our manufacturing there, and we're buying our products from there. And now they have control of the Panama Canal, and that's frightening. Again, as Biden leaves, he's just pulling back the curtain, and he's no longer, they used people, and now that they're done using those people because they lost the election, they're mad, so they're turning on these people. Biden administration quietly withdraws Title IX rule, forcing schools to let boys compete in girls' sports. You see that? They use these people. They used these people, and the whole, MAGA's a threat to your group, to try to get votes. When it didn't work, they turned on them. All right, so the subject was gaslighting. Oh, my God. Babylon Bee. ABC to put running ticker on all news shows saying, for legal purposes, do not believe anything we say. They're lying. I mean, this is a news agency that, has been well respected. But in their quest to manipulate elections and policies, they have basically resorted to just all-out lying and gaslighting. See, there's a difference. You can lie about something, or you can gaslight. Gaslighting is lying, but in a smoke screen, so people don't see that you're lying. New York Post. I get it. They're right-leaning. 2024 was a year of gaslighting. Here are the worst media lies. Let's be blunt. 2024 was the worst year ever for legacy media, and it ain't even close. I agree. Now, I went into this expecting to see something about Fox News. But the thing about it is that a lot of times when the right lies, they just lie. there isn't a concerted effort to try to make you believe something that isn't true. They just simply say it and roll on, or they're misinformed, or they exaggerate. But it's not gaslighting. So oddly enough, it all turned out to be left stuff. Cheap fakes. When President Biden wandered off from a group photo shoot with other world leaders in June during the G7, the clip understandably went viral. The worrisome walkabout followed several instances of Biden shaking hands with the heir, sharing conversations he had with long-deceased world leaders, and forgetting the name of some of his own cabinet members. Yeah, that's fun. That's really great. But the media insultingly told us these videos were cheap fakes. See, that's what they do. The Washington Post said they were deceptively edited, misrepresented events simply by manipulating video or audio or leaving out context. And they were staples of Republican attacks against Biden. 2 weeks later, when Biden's brain turned to applesauce again during his debate with Donald Trump, the narrative collapsed. That's what they do. A great example of this is Pierre, the White House speaker, whatever the hell she is. I forgot what her job is now. You know, if somebody says, can you comment on this video of Joe Biden falling down the stairs leading up to Air Force One? Her reply could be, oh, that's a fake video. But see, now that could be checked. So what you do is you sort of say something to the effect of, I can't comment on it. We have not established the validity of the video. So you don't directly say it's fake. You say, we haven't seen if it's valid. And then, of course, everybody picks up on that and says, it's an invalid, it's a deep fake, blah, 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 blah. And nobody ever sees the retraction. They did the same thing with job numbers. Look at all the jobs we created. And then there was a revision, and nobody wanted to speak about the fact how actually we lost jobs, or actually, like here in California, all the jobs that were created were government jobs. So not really that great of news. Number 3 on their list was policy flip-flops are irrelevant. Yeah, you know, Kamala Harris said that she opposed fracking, wanted to ban all offshore drilling, compared to ICE agents to the KKK, and called Trump's border wall medieval. And sure, she supported U.S. taxpayer dollars going to imprisoned illegal migrants for sex change procedures. Yeah, when she found out they were unpopular, she flip-flopped. You know, but the media insisted that defeating Trump was far more important than questioning or even noting it. Here's one person from The Atlantic. In the 2024 election, policy details matter even less than they usually do. Her and her running mate, Tim Walz, seem to have figured it out. Right. Yeah, Anna Navarro over at ABC News argued that Harris had absolved herself of conflicts via limited interviews with ultra-friendly outfits. She's doing The View Live. She's doing Colbert. She's doing the Howard Stern. She did 60 Minutes. Call her daddy. Yeah. What more do you want? And none of it worked because everybody saw through it. See? Everybody saw through it. She simply changed her mind as a persona, not as policy. She was going to go after fracking and all of that stuff that she said she wouldn't, you know? But if the flip-flops were genuine, that's okay. Much like Republicans need to rethink abortion. I think it was Nikki Haley who said we need to have a conversation about it. You know, if you have actually learned your lesson and you realize that your particular point of view was not good and you change your mind about it, that's perfectly acceptable. But if you're simply just saying it to get votes, then you need to be called out on it. And that's what Kamala did. She just flip-flopped on everything that wasn't popular. Number 2 on this one was the Madison Square rally was an ode to Nazis. Yeah, he had a condensed sequel to the Republican National Convention at Madison Square Garden. And the Washington Post, of course, brought up the fact that once the Nazis had a rally there, and they tied the two things together. I don't really understand that. First of all, Hitler did not like anybody who wasn't Aryan. So, you know, that's certainly not the makeup of the party anymore. You have Democrat supporters who are the ones who are keeping Jewish students from going to college. So again, I don't see where that connection is. But this was just another example of them just gaslighting, just throwing anything, because they knew their policies were bad. So they figured if we can convince people that Trump is a Nazi, then nobody will vote for him. And lastly, they said sexism and racism caused Kamala's loss. You know, I'm not going to go into Sunny Hostin's. All right, let's do it. Okay, Sunny Hostin. It's very difficult for people to believe racism. For people to believe racism and misogyny, they're just alive and well. I don't even know what she's saying. Perhaps you could read the quote and make more sense out of it. But there are a lot of reasons why Kamala Harris lost. Are there people out there who wouldn't vote for a woman? Sure. Are there racists out there who wouldn't vote for a black lady? Sure. Of course. That explains a small handful of them. The majority of people realize that the last 4 years has been horrible. And rebirthing it is going to be catastrophe. All right, so that was their list. All right, my list. What about crime? They tried to gaslight people into believing that crime was down. They would report FBI estimates, but they wouldn't report the revisions. They wouldn't report contradictory crime stats. And like I said, it's not the amount of crime, it's the type of crime. People are being burned alive on the subway. The subways of New York used to have something like 5 murders a year, and now they're up to 20 a year. Patrons are robbed at packed restaurants. People pull up curbside and just rob people who are sitting outside eating. Hordes of these people descend on malls and just smash and grab and beat people and intimidate people. And in some cases, they've killed people. Just at crowded malls, a woman lost her life when she tried to fight back and a car ran her over. We have illegal migrant gangs taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. And they want to try to say, well, it's just a handful of apartments. Trying to gaslight us into this. They report on they report on things like tourists heading back to the airport in Oakland stop to refill the gas tank of the rental car. And while they're doing this, somebody just smashes out the window and steals all of their stuff. Imagine that. You're wrapping up your vacation. All your stuff is stolen. And what's their thing? Well, actually, martyrs are down. Yeah, because they're leaving people half alive. That was the biggest snow job. That was a big snow job. But not as big as what Gavin Newsom has been doing on the oil companies. He refuses to drill. He refuses to get oil from American suppliers. He wants to import it from way overseas, where it's much more risky, it's worse for the environment, and it costs a lot of money. And then he wants to try to say that we're all going to be driving electric vehicles. So, hey, all you guys that make gasoline, don't bother thinking you're going to make a profit in California after 2035, because we're going to fucking kill your business. We're killing it for power generators, lawn equipment, vehicles, commercial trucks, blah, 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 blah. And then the taxes they put on top, right now they're debating all of these measures that are going to add to another $1 at least in taxes. If Gavin gets his way in the coming months, the taxes and fees are going to be $2 a gallon. $2 a gallon. That's $20 for a 10-gallon tank. That's $30 if you have a 15-gallon tank. We can just keep doing the math, but you see how it adds up. He's doing everything to raise the price. He's driving people out of their cars and trying to blame it on the oil companies. If the oil companies are greedy, it's because you opened the fucking door, Gavin. You're a tyrant. You think you know better than us? And you're doing all of this, without anybody having a say in it. Who the fuck had any say in what's going on here in California, especially when it comes to gas prices? Really? We need stricter air quality now? Stricter? So you could raise taxes to have stricter air quality rules. Who the fuck asked for that other than the environmentalists who are funded by Hollywood? And all they want is agenda over needs. And then I would say, kind of going back to that whole Madison Square Garden Nazi rally, I think the biggest gaslighting was that Trump MAGA were Nazis and a threat to democracy. Because it was Biden that was a threat to democracy. And they are the people who employed Nazi tactics. George Floyd riots, they burned down buildings. We had senators standing out front of the courtroom saying, if Chauvin isn't found guilty, burn it down. The people who are intimidating and victimizing Jewish students in the name of Gaza. And what about those assholes who keep gluing themselves to paintings and blocking traffic, the Stop Oil Now groups? That is funded by Hollywood elites. That is funded by Democrats. Those are fascist tactics. If we disagree with you, we will beat you down. If you want to speak your opinion, we will beat you down. If you want to have an opinion differing from ours, we will cancel you. That's their tactics. That's not the Republican tactics. I'm sorry. I'm purple, okay? I'm just calling it as I see it. Yes, there are really shitty people in the Republican Party, but the average Trump supporter, the average MAGA supporter, are far from Nazis. In fact, they're the complete opposites. They are the people who would risk their lives. Okay? We saw that in New York City. I don't know what Daniel Penny votes. I'll guess that he's a MAGA supporter. Why? Because when some asshole was threatening the lives of women and children on a subway car, he fucking did something about it. And if he's a Democrat, still, bravo. I love the guy, okay? He's a fucking hero. But you know who else is fucking heroic? Our soldiers. Our police officers. The people that are vilified by the Democrats. The Democrats are the threat to democracy because they think they know better. And if you don't fucking believe me, look at how California is run. Look at New York, how it is run, how they outlaw guns. They outlaw California. You can't even have a collapsible baton. You are to be defenseless so that you are constantly reminded that you are under the thumb of the Democrats. California is a prime example of Democrats because it's on lockdown out here. Everybody out here is so fucking mentally insane. Probably from doing all the mushrooms and fucking too much sunshine. I don't know what it is. But they're bonkers out here. Because here in California, they have been gaslit into oblivion. They still believe the Democratic Party has their best intentions at heart. They don't. All right, I'm going to sum this up. Get out of your hair. Good ideas don't require spin. Good policies don't require propaganda. And in short, purple does not require any gaslighting. The truth will set us free. Truth is, I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party. And so are you. Love one another. Reject all hate. And when it gets to be too much, just remember to dance it out.